Faraway world, a battle is raging between evil and good. From the stars, they came here to Earth, caught in their struggle through the whole universe. Robotic warriors.
Sapia here. Welcome to Transformers for your listening pleasure. TFYLP for short. Join us and discuss the latest in Transformers fandom. And now, without further ado, here is Weird Wolf. Now, where did I put that chorus stop? Ratchet, can you take the chorus stop?
Only the strong will survive. Till all I want.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of TFYLP, episode number 120, recorded Friday, September 5th, 2014. I am your host, Weird Wolf. Along with me this evening is Plasticon.
Hey guys, been here another week. I'm back.
Tobias.
Hi everyone.
Headmaster Don.
I got a face in the intro. I'm a real live podcaster.
You're an actual person now. And
he's a real boy.
Proto-Man.
How you doing, people?
Yeah.
Voila. And welcome special guest Hangyup Chan. Welcome to TFYLP.
Hi guys, just to let you know that it's Saturday here in Australia, and you're all still alive, so the world hasn't ended.
You're a time traveler. Oh my gosh! You know, this marks the very first episode of TFYLP. This is groundbreaking. We have somebody from 4 different countries on this show at the same time. We have the U.S., we have Canada, we have Sweden, and we have Australia. That's and it's around the world. So that is something that we've never done at one time on TFYLP. So, does anybody hear an echo? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a slight echo, and I do apologize to the audio listeners on that. I'm not sure what's exactly causing that. But at any rate, we are live now, and we are going to be talking tonight for the first time. We've been wanting to do it for some time, but I wanted to do it justice because there's just so much to talk about whenever you talk about Yuusha Brave. And I didn't want to do it injustice, and I wanted to inform a lot of fans that may not know about the Brave series. You might have heard about it, you might have read something about it on the message board forums, but didn't know a whole lot about it. And I'll have to admit, I was right there with a lot of people just a couple years ago. I had listened to WTF at TFW and heard Vangelis talking about Gaigar, and to me it was just a funny sounding name, and I really had no idea what it was. And fast forward a year or two, and I was staying with Insane Galvatron, and he picked up Captain Shark, and he was messing with it, and I just found it to be a phenomenal toy and very G1 like. And then he also picked up a Shadow Maru, which was equally awesome, and Shadow Maru was basically G1 6-shot with a heavy retool. It even came with a little small revolver. Yes, Proto Man has one there. Absolutely beautiful deco on it. It's kind of similar to Great Shot in colors, isn't it?
Not really. Great Shot is more red, white,
Black and red.
Yeah, in different areas, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you look at the the Shadow Emissary version of Hexatron that Fans Toys has recently announced or released, I'm not sure which, it's the homage to Shadow Maru.
Mm.
Well, it's hilarious because obviously, Brave toys are not in any form of scale that would make sense. But Shadow Maru is supposed to be this tiny robot. He's like he's like the same height as Decker on his own. So when you see him in toy form, and he's almost the height of Jay Decker, you go like, wait, what?
Yeah, but it's like we've said, if you're collecting Transformers and worried about scale, you're in the wrong hobby.
Yep.
Yeah. But
I completely agree with that.
you know, the thing is we've got a lot of people, like I said, don't know a whole lot about Brave, and I'm very distracted by the episode of Gal Gagar going on behind me, but you know, I figure it's something that people can kind of glance up at from time to time. But yeah, I really didn't know much about them, and then whenever I saw what great toys there were, and he had picked up the Sonokong versions, Insane Galvatron, and so that prompted me to get to looking around the internet, and my very first Brave toy that I purchased myself was Mike Gain. And while trains, you know, there's a lot of people that can take them or leave them. Just the fact that he's a locomotive, he had some great sounds. I really, really enjoyed that toy, and the detail on it, the gold chrome. It just worked, and I got to looking in the instructions, and oh wait, it combines with something else. This guy called Mike Kaiser, and so I looked up Mike Kaiser, and Mike Kaiser was only like another 15 more bucks than I paid for Mike Gain. I picked him up, and I combined them together, and I'm like, wow, this thing is enormous. And I know that is what she said. And yes, Hank is actually holding Great Mike Gain up right now.
For size reference, this
Yes.
is how big the bugger is.
Yes, he is enormous, and you have Mike Gunner added on there as well as Great Mike Gain Perfect Mode, and yeah, I found that out about a month or two after I completed Great Mike Gain. And the fact that he could combine with yet another figure and make him even bigger. And as you can see, in that mode, in that combined form, for those of you who have TFC Hercules, he's roughly about the size of TFC Hercules. Maybe a little bit bigger, actually. So if you like G1 style toys and their transformations are very G1-ish, Brave toys are right down your alley. Now they do have, as Megamus likes to put it, a Sentai-ish, a Power Ranger-ish look to them at times with the head crests. But if you really stop and think about it, there's a lot of Transformers that have the same kind of appearance, and to knock them on that is not fair, because a lot of these toys are simply amazing. And while some of them, like we have here, Death Gary Gun. A lot of you G1 fans may recognize this guy as Sky Gary, but he appeared in...
That's this guy right here.
Goron.
Yeah, Goron, as
Death Gary.
Death Gary Gun, yes. So...
And he was massive in the show. Like let's put it this way, his fist, like just his fist, I'm talking about just the fist, was larger than Great Goron's combination. So that's how big he is in the show.
So, just like Transformers, scale means absolutely nothing in Brave.
Exactly.
But
yeah, here's Sky Gary, original, and then my custom Great Galaman, which was made of a Death Gary gun. But literally, if you guys are in the market for a Death Gary gun, it's the same size as the original Sky Gary, and they're phenomenal toys. They're really, really cool. They have a base mode, they've got a flying mode, and a robot mode. They're great.
And they come with a
And they
Micromaster.
combine with other stuff. Yeah, they do. They do come with a little Micromaster. I don't have mine drug out. It's a little missile tank. I don't know who has theirs handy, but I don't have
And
mine.
the amazing thing too is that you could pick up a Death Gary gun right now, like the Sonokong version, for usually $25-$30. You know, they're so plentiful now, not very expensive.
Well, now,
Stop supporting Sonokong.
Well, now, one thing we might want to point out is as with a lot of Power Rangers and Kamen Rider series and Transformers, Korea usually gets the series several years after it airs in Japan. And you have the Takara Brave figures, and if you buy the ones from Korea, as most anybody who has bought Neo or Beast War 2 figures knows, Sonokong is Takara's manufacturing representative in South Korea. So when you hear someone say a Sonokong Brave versus a Takara Brave, it's the same level quality in my opinion, the quality is the same. But
Their stickers are very poor, though.
The stickers are.
Yeah, Sonokong stickers tend to peel really easily.
Yeah, don't expect Reaper label quality stickers from Sonokong, but you will save a fair amount of money compared to the Japanese version on most figures. So when you hear us talk about that, that's the difference. It's just a different manufacturer, but it's still licensed by Takara.
To be fair, what I can tell is the only major difference between any of the toys for Sonokong and Takara would be for J Decker, because they were using the Korean-style police symbols on J Decker rather than how Japan just had nothing. It was just a gold chrome. That's it.
The one thing is, if you do buy the Sonokong toys, there may be some different. You'll be surprised if you've collected Masterpiece Prowl and you've looked at the U.S. version and you've seen inside the box and you see there's a lot of space in that box.
Yes.
There's a lot of spaces. There's a lot of space in the Sonokong boxes because they are much bigger than the Japanese.
The Beast War the biggest problem.
Yeah. Now this is a Sonokong version of Pegasus Saber from the Brave Legend of Da-Garn. What?
I have him, and I never put him in that mode because I just walk by and just start laughing every time I see it.
Well, the thing is,
it's awesome.
He's a combiner, but he's a centaur. How many combiner centaurs do you see? I mean, this is just amazing. I love it.
You know, I want to see them. I want to see them do that in Sentai. Then you have a Sentai Centaur.
Technically in Gao Ranger, the lion becoming the body is kind of a centaur-ish kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's true. And now, also in Gokaiger.
If you can see this, the Sonokong version, this is one of the sticker problems. I'm trying to get it to but the stickers tend to peel rather easily, and this is within minutes of me applying it. It started to do that. So I just very sparingly applied the stickers to this guy. There's a lot more stickers that go on him, but I just left them off because I think he looks great as he is.
But to be fair, Weird Wolf, just saying, even though we're talking about the stickers, Takara's version isn't that much better. So I buy only Takara. I've only have one Sonokong figure, which was a Goldie Mag, and even I gave that away because I got a proper one from Takara. But getting the stickers on them from the Goran series, if you look at, say, God Sylvian, he was horrible. Like, the stickers would peel off within seconds of putting it on. And that's a Japanese version, and it's not careful and everything. It just, because on the chrome, the stickers don't hang on very well.
Yeah, I think that's generally the problem. Well, I mean, the thing is, though, even on the Sonokong versions, even on the non-chromed areas, it tends to peel really easily. I was trying to think. I had, my mic gain stickers tended to curl on it a little bit. But enough of the preface. Hank, tell us a little bit about you and why you're here tonight to help. Well, I guess tomorrow for your time zone, but to help shed a light on the Brave series for us.
Okay, so although I'm living in Australia, I was originally from Singapore, and we get a lot of content Transformer-wise, and I was a big Transformer fan. After Transformers ended with Victory, because I never actually got to I never saw Zone till much later. They were showing a lot of the Alderaan series. Now, Alderaan is like the really super kid-friendly version of Brave, when you think about it. So there was Raijino, Gambaro, and something else. I can't remember what it is right now. But
what we have with Rescue Bots in Prime, if you kind of look at it.
Actually, some of the Elderon stuff doesn't look that bad. I mean,
Rajino is brilliant. I have that figure. I got him really cheap. Like, it was really worth it, even though it's like God Rajino is larger than Mike Guine Perfect Mode. He is larger than that.
Wow, that is.
But I don't have him here with me. He's in Singapore. But I remember putting him in there, and I'm like, oh wow, he's reaching up to Fortress Maximus's like shoulder. That can't be right.
Wow, that is enormous.
But then because of that, I found out about Brave. I have to admit, I didn't start Brave with Exkaiser. I started it with Mike Guine. And then I worked my way backwards, and then found, before I managed to finish all the series, Gaiga came out, and that's what cemented my love for the Yuusha series.
Okay. Did Don was he correct in that you lived in Japan for a while too?
Yeah, I did do an exchange program, and then my wife was also there for 15 months, so I visited her a fair bit. Actually, I got my Mike Saunders while I was in Japan for only 800 yen, which is close to $10. Like, the only reason why he was so cheap was because the box is damaged.
Oh.
Now we know where you got that.
Now, Mike Saunders, for those who doesn't know, he's actually rather difficult to come by. He appeared in the Gao series that's appearing behind me. Actually, we're seeing the combination sequence of Gao and Goldie Marg into the Marg hand behind us. And it's yes.
Such a good series.
Quite amazing. They do use, if you're familiar with the Armada and Energon and Car Robots, Robots in Disguise, the custom transformation sequences, they reuse them a lot.
Stock footage.
Yeah, the stock footage transformation sequences. They use those a lot in the Brave series, but honestly, I think it's really, really cool because it highlights what is awesome about these toys. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about the animes in a bit, but I want to quick go over the list of the Brave series. If I'm not mistaken, Brave Exkaiser, which was the very first line, it started, I believe, in 1990 or 91.
91.
91.
Okay.
So it was straight after Victory.
Okay. And then after that, we had Sun Firebird, Legend of Da-Garn, the Brave Express Might Gain, Police J. Decker, Goldron, Command Dagwon, and then Gao finally in 1998, 99.
98 into 91 and 2000 for final.
Yeah, and then after that we did have the video game series only Bangan, if I'm not murdering that.
Which was Brave Saga 1 and 2. So
Yeah.
what happened was after Gaiga ended, they wanted to try to do a new series, but they couldn't get funding, so they made it into a game. And that's the only way you can actually get the original figure was from the Brave Saga 1 game. And then after they finished that, they didn't make something till a lot later called Shinseki Yuusha Daisen, which is what I posted some of the video footage on your Facebook page.
Okay.
And that game is pretty good because it combines Yuusha with Alderaan.
Now, I'm trying, and I do want to point out there is a great Brave website. I'll be honest, I'm using a lot of it for some reference material here. It is bravedx.com. There's a lot of great pictures and a lot of great information on bravedx.com. There's a lot of people may not realize how many Transformers actually made it into the Brave series, and some of them were actually made into toys. Some of them just appeared in the animes themselves. But like we alluded to earlier, Sky Gary as Death Gary Gun, and you had Dino Geist, or not Dino Geist, but Red Geist as that was Death Saurus. You also had Shadow Maru, who was Six Shot, and many, many more. We'll talk about some of those here shortly, but it just goes to show you that Transformers and Brave, Brave is I guess what's the closest you can come?
Cousin.
The cousin
Well,
of Transformers.
How Brave even came about really is kind of funny, because it really, if you want to figure out why it even exists, is it goes all the way back to when Takara and Toei started handling Headmasters when it became the Japanese only series, and they started moving away from, because originally season 3 was Studio ACOM, which was a Korean-based animation studio for G1 season 3. And when they went in 2 separate directions, we got Rebirth, which was still Studio ACOM, and Japan went with Toei, and using for specific stock footage, which was the first time ever used in Transformers, majorly, which was in Headmasters. The stock footage was done to a company called Sunrise, and Sunrise was in charge of which was at the time doing a lot of Gundam stuff. And Sunrise was doing all the stock footage for Headmasters. And in Headmasters, the only stock footage that existed was when Fortress Maximus would do his big transformation and pull out the Master Sword, and he would do this pose and everything. And that was the start of that relationship. And then when they went into Master Force, which was a very Sentai-esque and, that kind of flavor of a series, which you could see a lot of what... which one is? I think it's... Golderon. Dagwan, excuse me. Dagwan has a lot of similar characteristics between the two, but it also created Master Force created the cemented formula that would be used for a lot of Japanese Transformer series and almost all the Brave series. The concept of small teams, larger teams later, halfway through the point a combiner is introduced, a new big baddie gets an upgrade usually halfway through it also, or someone joins the baddie, and that written formula, which started with Master Force, continued. Again, all the stock footage done by Sunrise, while all the base animation still done by Toei, and Tokyo Movie Shusa, or whatever, was done for everything else, including the intros. Same thing with Victory. Zone was an OVA that was done exclusively by Sunrise, and that's when the relationship started. After Zone ended, Takara was at an impasse. Transformers was on the way out. They were already not doing villain characters because villain characters were not selling well, and then now the good guy characters weren't selling well. So they had to go in a direction. So instead of doing yet another franchise that was animated to sell it, they decided to do a Transformer franchise but with a different name in order to sell it as a different product. And that's what Brave Exkaiser was. It was originally conceived as a Transformer series, and if you pick up, I believe it's the second version of the Transformers Generations guidebook, which was that, I have it close by somewhere. This one here, I don't have the cover on it, mind you, but this Bad Mama Jamma, this book. But if you have the second version of it, which I have in my library archives, they showed a lot of the early Exkaiser stuff, specifically Ultra Raker, and I believe, I want to say, some of the pieces of other things that would be used later on, such as Duke Fire, but that's not Exkaiser, that comes later with J. Decker. But there was a lot of things that were early planned to be used in Transformers that ended up getting re-engineered and replanned and then released as Brave that we know today. And then Exkaiser made its debut, and if you look at Exkaiser, if you ignored the story and thought this is Autobots and this is Decepticons, it is totally a plausible story. Exkaiser, outside of being a very convoy-esque kind of character, he's still a car with a trailer. He's kind of a Rodimus, if anything, who has a trailer that he combines with. So there were still a lot of those cues. I mean, up to that point with Transformers, if you were a convoy or leader, you had a trailer of some kind. You had a smaller robot and a bigger, even Starsaber had a trailer, when you think about it. He was a flying plane with a trailer attached to it.
Yeah, the V-Star was
basically
a trailer.
The V-Star was a trailer.
Yeah,
And
he's
so-
Sky. He's Sky Ultra Magnus, basically.
Well, there you go. So essentially, when they did Exkaiser, all those same designer cues and visual cues, almost all of it stayed in the show and continued. So that was the incomplete Transformer series, Exkaiser. Even down to the characters, how they show up on Earth and they're practically sparks that go into vehicles. Because that's how it's like they show up on Earth and they're sparks, and then they go into the car. And I mean, there was so much Transformer cues that were there at the time.
And the spark thing, because the first two series, Firebird and Exkaiser, were aliens. They were generally aliens coming to Earth and taking
they were
vehicle form.
Space police.
So they're all balls of light.
Label as Autobots in a sense, up to that point. Where Autobots were, Yuusha justice, we go around the planet protecting against, evil. That was the concept of Autobots, the way the Japanese handled them. The Earth Defense Force or the United Space Defense Force. There was always something by the time of Victory and Zone that, emphasized some kind of space police up to that point. And Exkaiser was supposed to be the next continuation of that. What would have been after Battle Stars, ignoring Operation Combination and the direction Japan went in the other direction after Battle Stars. But in the end, they went with that Exkaiser route. And the interesting thing about Exkaiser is that about 10% of those designs didn't get used, and those designs were used years later in car robots for Exkaiser, which would lead to what was the final design for JRX. And that's why JRX kind of has a weird aesthetic when compared to the rest of the car robots line and Robots in the Sky.
So he was originally supposed to be Brave.
Yeah, he was a Brave design that by the time they got around to finally doing it, they're like, well, now let's put some ball joints in this. Let's put this and that. But they were Brave toys in their original inception. And you see that if you put Ultra Raker next to JRX, they're like, it's almost like taking, like JRX is the Generations Classics version of Ultra Raker. If you take individual characters like J4, J7, or what were their American names? Rail Racer,
Rail Spike,
Midnight Express. If you put them next to specific characters, they're literally like as if they did like a Generations or a Classics version of them, because that was their original intent. It's like these are going to be Transformer toys. Now we get to Exkaiser, and then we shoot from there. Now you can continue.
But one of the things is, now I read this many years ago, and I apologize for not quoting the source. But the car representative said that every year is some child's first robot series.
Oh yeah.
And that's why they wanted to do Brave without anything being continued. Is every year a kid could see this for the first time. Say someone's younger brother, and that would be their entry into the robot world without having to know anything about any characters, because it was all brand new every year.
Well, that was something that Sentai has been doing for 40 years.
Yeah.
Sentai, what their mentality was, ongoing continuity was not necessary. Also, you have to understand, culturally in Japan, the window that kids play with toys in Japan, especially during that time, not today. Today's more of a man-child kind of era, but back then, the window that kids played with toys was very small. It was like usually ages like 3 to 7, as opposed to even in our generation during the 80s, it was more like 3 to 10. And that 3 years is a big difference. So for them, it wasn't really worth it to invest in an ongoing fiction and ongoing continuity for a audience that, in all honesty, will not care or be rebooted. So with Sentai, every year was a reboot. There was no effort to really have a continuation of fiction. At most, what they would do, a crossover series, and that started with Car Ranger, and O Ranger, if I remember correctly.
No, it was O Ranger and Kaku Ranger.
O Ranger and Kaku Ranger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kaku Ranger, and that was like that was like again the mid-90s when they were just like okay, because even with Transformers they were like okay, Headmasters, Master Force, Victory Zone, there's some kind of continuity, but it slowly started to trickle away, and it's like oh the Matrix, let's forget about that. Here's the Zodiac instead. They were really just trying to walk away from that. So by the time they got to Exkaiser, they were just copying the formula that worked for Power Rangers up to that point, Sentai, which is just reboot the series every year. It's new to every year. It's a new set of kids. Someone is young again. Someone is discovering toys for the first time, and it's a lot safer to do that than have someone say, "Well, I don't know the story. I can't get into this." It's like you said, a gateway, you know.
What is it, Massey?
Massey attack.
Um,
Now, tell us a little about how old were you whenever you got into Brave and your first impressions of it and things that you took away from the early years of Brave.
Well, I have to admit, like, I started with Mike Guy, so, but I think I was probably about 16, 17 by the time it came out, or by the time I actually got access to it. It was just before I went to Australia to study. So, because I'd already been into Transformers for so long, it's kind of one of those things where you go, can't let go of giant robots running around my screen. It's great. But Mike Guy I thought was great because it was that Mike Guy was the first series, if I remember correctly, that started the whole super AI concept. Because the previous 3 series were either aliens or the force of the Earth is defending the planet, as with Da-Garn, anyway.
Yeah.
But Mike Guy was where super AIs were being used in the storyline, and I think it was great because Maito, the lead character for Mike Guy, is really just Batman in a giant mecha suit.
And
he's this rich kid with a giant robot, like seriously.
But now, would you say, Hank, probably you don't want to start with Mike Game just because of the twist they throw in on that?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Mike Guy is a horrible way to start Yuusha because literally it was Sunrise taking shots at Takara.
Yeah, there was some bad blood during the production of Mike Game, and without spoiling anything, there is the twist that completely takes Mike Game off in a different direction. So don't start with that as your first Brave because it kind of will screw you over.
Yeah. Well,
if I was to say you wanted to start with your first Brave and you didn't want to be like Gal Geiger, which is like everybody's favorite from what I can tell, I would say Firebird because Exkaiser is still really raw because they were moving away from the Transformers. They were still using a Transformers concept.
It still was a Transformer show, just in Brave clothing.
Because if you think about it, there's a little kid, which is taken from Victory.
Everything. If you take Victory and Car Robots and literally everything, Car Robots has the 3 Car brothers, and then a train team shows up later to upgrade them, and then they get a bigger build team later. You look at Exkaiser. You have the main guy who is a kid that's like Yuki. Then you have the 3 brothers in a sense, which are in his case, exactly. And then it's just there's so many parallels there. You have the stupid like dino kind of crew. You have the stupid kind of animal crew, which was the right to laser, left to laser. They didn't really have a term in Japanese, but they were the Predacons in the Robots in Disguise dub. But it's just
they were the strongers in the
the Death Strongers, but I don't think they had the name for the subgroup of them. I don't think the animal ones, the Transmetal 2s, if you want to call them, the repaints. But it's just like that was still a very Transformer series right to the end, and it's one of those things that if you watched Victory, if you watched the Japanese dub of Car Robots, it has that same feel of storytelling, pace, no big twists, there's no surprises, let's put it that way. Just a straight-up kind of Transformer series, what they've been phoning in up to that point. Where I will agree, Firebird is the true departure. That's when things start to get different.
See, Firebird itself was never considered a direct sequel to Exkaiser, but if you play any of the Brave Saga games, it tries to say it by claiming that Firebird created the Intergalactic Space Force because of Exkaiser. And just like how in J. Decker they claim that they built the Brave Police because they found out about Firebird and Exkaiser. So they try in the games, but I would say that there's no point trying to see a connection between the different series.
But it's sort of interesting you brought up Daniel, about the connection, because Master Force is my favorite classic Transformer series. Dagwan is probably my favorite Brave series, and everyone knows how much I love car robots or robots in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's amazing how I know it's the formula. It's the Sentai formula, like you said.
It's the very Japanese set, because in Japan, there's not so much an emphasis on, they like more humans piloting the robots. They always lean more towards that. And when they did have Transformers, they were like, well, then we have to have a Shihobu. We have to have a kid. We have to have that little shonen kid that is there to have some kind of importance, even though he might not. You know, and that was not Daniel. You could say he was the prototype to that. But he wasn't 100% there yet for Headmasters. But it was 100% by the time Go Shooter showed up in Master Force. Right. Same thing with Yuki in Victory. You had Cain and Abel in Zone. The Japanese manga and story page stuff didn't really have human characters added in. But then by the time you got to Car Robots, I believe he was called John. No, John was in Master Force in Victory.
John is Master Force. Yuki
was in Car Robots, and I think he was called. I don't even know what he was called in the English dub. I didn't watch it in English. And there's always that kid. Same thing. Even if you look at Armada, the Armada formula was, let's take the Master Force trio of kids. We're going to take the girl that's supposed to be the more mature one, who's older, Minerva, or in the case Alexis, or Alexa in Japanese. You take the more younger kid who's more, oh hey, I like motorcycles or skateboards or whatever, which was Rad in the case, which was, if you look at the first episode of Master Force Go Shooter. And then let's take the minority character who's brown, but maybe not brown, but maybe Mexican, but maybe not, in Kabu or in Carlos. And they took that same formula that existed in both series, and they just continued that with Armada. And Armada was one of those Transformer series that really tried to have a continuity. Again, please ignore what we got in America. It was a cluster. I don't want to say the F word, but it was a cluster F. Armada that we got over here.
I watched Micron Densetsu.
Yeah.
I know it's not subbed, but I can understand Raw, so it doesn't affect me. But I've watched Micron Densetsu, and I go like, oh my gosh, the characters are so much better.
The animation.
The fat one.
The animation is night and day.
It's so obvious too. It's really sad when you think about it.
But the thing is that there was a lot of parallels there too in that Japanese storytelling style. Same thing. Jetfire shows up halfway. Now all of a sudden there's a new power up that combines with the leader character. Then there's the new big bad that shows up halfway. In this case, Unicron, and with Thrust showing up, being that kind of. There was that same formula that exists for and this continues onward into Superlink, which is Energon, and Galaxy Force, which was Cybertron. That is the Japanese writing style of Transformers, and we only got off that ship when the Bay movies came out, and they're like, okay, let's do animated Prime, and that's...
before that though, like for example, Brave Command Dagwan. Mm-hmm. That was a definite departure from you had a young kid in the story, but he was Tangeal because the main characters were a very Gundam Wing style set of young men.
That was what was popular.
Yeah, that's what was popular. So but you also
to be fair though, Mike Guine was like that too, because Mike Guine's lead character was 15 at the beginning of the series, 16 by episode 24. But the little kid factor of Mike Guine was his love interest's younger brother, and he doesn't appear every episode.
Yeah. So but anyway, but but when you watch these series, you'll see how much of it is Sentai carrying through, and also the Transformer formula carrying through. It's just, but that still doesn't change the fact that this stuff is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Now let's.
I was just going to say, if you're one of those people that is like a heavy G1 collector and you've pretty much tapped out everything you could watch and collect from G1 at that point, it's a really good cousin series, as I like to call it, to then bleed into. Because you'll still be dealing with the same kind of transformation aesthetic, the same kind of feel of the toys, and the same kind of writing style that you might already be used to. It's another series that a Transformer fan could turn around and watch, because I know sometimes people, they've watched everything up to that point and they go, what could I watch next? What do I watch in between my Transformers Prime and RID 2.0? What do I watch in between the? You have tons of Brave. He's a little about
Almost
let's
10
say
years.
about I don't know, 400 episodes of material you could be watching. So
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's and even if you don't watch the show, and if you're just in it for the toys,
tons of
me,
toys.
I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen the Gal Gaigar that's behind me. I've seen maybe 25 episodes of it, and I've seen sporadic episodes of the other Brave series, but I have not seen any of them in their entirety. But Brave has won me over solely on the toys. I mean, I'm a toy collector. I love G1s, and just the toys. I mean, they're very G1 aesthetic and transformation styles. Like anybody who's followed the Facebook group, I posted some pictures of Exkaiser's Dino Geist. He is a triple changer in the very purest sense of the word. He has 3 distinct forms, and the way he converts to each one of those forms, and the way he looks in each one of those forms is very. I mean, the whole time you're transforming that toy, you sit there and think, this guy should have been a Transformer. Why did Takara not release this thing in Transformers? This thing is so freaking awesome. I mean, and he's if you have a G1 Snapdragon, he's very, very similar to Snapdragon. But before we go on, I want to kind of bring this back, and this week and next week we are going to cover each one of the Brave series. And this week we're going to cover Brave Exkaiser, Sun Firebird, Legend of Da-Garn, and Might Gain. And we are going to cover those 4 this week, and then the rest of them we will cover next week up through Gal Gaigar and Gal Gaigar Final. Which the Gal Gaigar, I'll just preface that by that this anime seems to have the most vigor and the most life out of all of the series. Yep. I mean, and it even has ties to I have a friend of mine. Betterment. Yeah. Yes, a friend of mine. He is not even familiar with Brave. He loves anime and everything. It's Batosai from GeekExistence.com, where TFYLP started at. We were talking, and I was telling him the relationship, that there's a relationship between Gal Gaigar and the Betterman series. And he goes, Betterman? He says, I've actually seen that. He says, you mean to tell me it's actually connected to Transformers or Brave? And I said, well, not Transformers per se, but I said it is connected to a Brave series. So even if you're not familiar with Brave, and if you've seen Betterman, there are some elements that come over from Gal Gaigar into that, and it's just really neat. There's just so much material there, and then whenever they did the OVA and Gal Gaigar Final, I just watched 10 minutes of it last night for the first time, just to kind of help get my mindset into what we're going to be talking about tonight. And the 10 minutes that I watched, I mean, the animation was phenomenal. The colors that they used, I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful show. And I really, really want to go back and watch that. And it's all on YouTube. So if you want to go on there and watch it, I link to it in the Facebook group. Go and check it out. But let's go back and start with Exkaiser and talk about the Exkaiser himself, and then we will talk about the Geists, and then we will go on and we will talk a little bit about the series, which Protoman gave us a good look at the series already. But we'll brief over the series, and then we'll head into Firebird, and then the other 2 series after that. Exkaiser, Well, I'll tell you what. Let's hear from Tobias. We haven't heard from him. What's your thoughts on Brave?
Well, I realized when you announced there was going to be a Brave episode that I don't have a clue. So I'm learn something about this, and I'm listening.
That's what we need. We need somebody on here that doesn't know anything about Brave to ask questions.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that I could ask some questions eventually.
Well, do you have any questions so far that you'd like to ask?
Nothing that come up. We'll give a shout out.
Well, whenever you do, just speak up, and we'll give you your turn. Plasticon.
Yeah.
Myself, I got into Brave mainly because of the toys. The toys are very G1-ish. Everybody knows I'm a Generation 1, Generation 2 Diaclone freak. I love that stuff. And it literally fell, right in suit. And I loved it. And then I actually started watching some of the cartoons because I really didn't know much about the cartoons. I heard about them, but I really didn't get into them. And then I started watching some of them. The ones I really liked was like the J. Decker and all that because it really reminded me of Master Force. And I was just blown away because I was like, because I'm a big fan of Master Force. I love Master Force, and I wish they would do. I want to see a live-action movie of Master Force, honestly. I want that to happen.
As long as it's not directed by Michael Bay.
I want to, as long as Michael Bay doesn't screw it up. I want to see a live-action.
You know what? I
Master
want that,
Force.
but just no Michael Bay, 'cause then it'll be the worst thing ever.
Right.
They'll make me hate Master Force.
But I mean, the way I saw it, when I started watching, some of the Brave stuff, I was like, this is so cool because this is exactly what I liked it because it did remind me of Sentai, but it was more of a Transformer kind of thing, and I'm like, this is badass because, I don't know, it's just very hard to explain. And then I found out that, they actually made Kabaya of these things too, and I'm like, that's awesome. I mean, some of the guys out there that if you guys cannot afford getting hold of even some of the Sonokong, sometimes you can find the Kabaya ones pretty cheap. Jump on them, get them. They're really cool.
Have you been getting the newer Kabaya stuff that they've been releasing? Because they've done some kind of like revival and they've been releasing some.
I saw a few of them, but the big one that really stood out to me was the Gal-Gar one because I'm a big fan of the B-2 bomber. I love the B-2 bomber. I love the big
I've got the Buster and Hydra right here of the newer ones, and I can tell you, compared to older Kabaya kits, these things are way better.
Oh yeah,
they hold together way better and everything.
And the funny thing is, a lot of those Kabayas, when you compare them to the original G1 toys they're based on, sometimes they added articulation that was not present with the original toys. I know I only built, I have all the waves, but I only built up to the first 3, and it's interesting how you could take like a G1 Optimus Prime, add a wrist swivel. Or, you got the God Bomber there. That was from Wave 3, if I remember correctly, or Wave 2.
My wife got this for me.
Yeah.
It was on sale in a supermarket, so she only paid like 150 yen.
And that one looks a lot. And that one also looks a lot even better than the original God Bomber toy, like in terms of the mold and the sculpt.
Yeah. No, I agree. And what disappointed me was after looking at the prototype for God Bomber in the Generations book, you go like, the prototype's so good. Why would you do this to me?
The prototype was the sexiest thing ever, and it's so sad.
And wasn't it
pull it up
Dawn?
right
Dawn, I think it was
I'm
you who said
back.
Yes.
You wanted to get that.
Yeah. Well, see, I was.
So here's what we got.
Yeah.
All right, which is like you could barely see the wings or anything,
Yeah,
and then
just tiny little.
And here's what we were gonna get. Wait, hold on. Let me just get on the screen there. Which is
the sexy.
Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that thing.
Yeah. But see,
And Don was telling me the story of how you saw God Bomber in like a catalog. Was it?
You see, I was to get that. Yeah, because it was 95. I was trading Kmart Legend Bumblebees for tapes of Master Force and Victory, and he sent the catalog and said, if you want any of this, let me know. So I bought God Bomber based on the catalog picture, which was the prototype from Tony Prito. Tony Prito. And then God Bomber came in. I said, Mr. Prito, this is Mr. Prito. My toy that I got, the God Bomber, does not look like the toy that I thought it was. What do you mean? Well, the catalog picture says, oh, the catalog picture. and then he told me about the differences.
Yeah.
Well, myself as a customizer, I've been sitting back like trying to figure out exactly how could I reverse engineer and make something similar to that. And honestly, with all the 3D printing technology, why hasn't an indie toy company tackled this?
Why
They're
hasn't
too
the
busy
dog-
doing combiners.
You know,
Right.
That's right,
And
that's
honestly, I mean, myself,
That's your
I
short
can
answer.
see, like, everybody, I mean, well, if you think about it, Dan, I mean, you know how many versions of that Power Master Primes came out? You know, and it's came out in,
Let's put
the
it this
Fire
way.
Guts as well.
TFCon USA is coming up soon. I'm already getting all the third-party stuff, previews for that show.
Mhm.
That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
God bummer.
More of the same. More of the same. Like already they showed. I think the Decons dropped this morning.
No, the unique
Abominus.
toy.
Oh, was it the? I don't know which
It's
one.
Abominus.
Well, there I
Abominus.
spoiled the other one for you then. Fuck.
You
know,
let it go.
No, I'm telling you, it's more of the, no, but it's more of the same. It's just anyway. I don't want to get into it. I do that panel, and every year I'm never impressed. Like two things always impress me every year.
Well, to me, it's like, I would love to see really a third-party tackle making the original God Bomber the way it would have been, because everybody that owns that toy would buy that. I don't know anybody that would say no.
Why
I'm not
doesn't
going to
someone
buy
just reverse engineer? Look,
Why doesn't Takara make it? Just
You have
Takara make
these
it.
perfect. They have these perfect bootlegs of the Dinobots, of a lot of these 84, 85 G1 guys, right down to packaging that's almost near perfect. Why not just do a Minerva?
Yeah.
Why not just do all those really expensive, or a Stepper, or well, Stepper's not necessary, but maybe Artfire, or just all those really expensive stuff, or do repros of Target Master guns, stuff that people really need. There seems to be this crazy obsession with making unique engineering, spending all that time and money in engineering and tooling and pieces and parts with the gamble that you're going to sell it to 20, 30 people. Like, how many people do you know own, I don't know, any one of those Predakings that came out? Like of all the Predakings that you could pick from, maybe like 60 people in total probably own a complete set of those things. But if you made like Target Master guns for all the people that are missing Target Masters, or the Dino cassettes, those had a very limited run, those bootlegs of the Dino cassettes from Headmasters. Or that guy who did that Headmaster box set there that also came with a Black Zarek and a Grand
Oh yeah, that was
Reaper.
that.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, the guys that own Black Zurak, why aren't you guys just remolding the freaking staff and the head? People just buy those individually like this. I don't know
It's because they don't
anybody
want to
out
touch
there
the
in that
figure.
market that wouldn't.
Anyways,
You
we're
don't
getting off. We'll go back
Well,
to Brave.
Yeah.
I get that, but you've got people that have the GPS issues, but there's no GPS in the head and the staff, so what's the risk?
Takara was
Let's bring this back to
Brave.
that's a great discussion, but for a different time. Let's bring it back to Brave.
I blame Messi.
Let's actually keep it a little bit where we were talking here, though, about the third party. Third parties, we finally got some Brave homages in third parties with KFC or KTC or whatever they want to call themselves now. They have done their version of Captain Shark as Sencho Barbosa. Now, whenever that was first announced, I'm like, oh my gosh, if they actually do that, I'm going to be beside myself. And it is out now. And I haven't actually got to see one in person, but I've been hearing some pretty good things about them. And these third-party companies that are doing the third-party Dinobots, what would be to stop them from doing redecos and slight retools into the Four Geists?
Oh, they totally will. They're like Hasbro. They're not going to waste a mold. They're not going to waste waste tooling, and especially that because they're third-party guys and anything is possible, they could do their Dinobot thing, and then down the line create some extra pieces and upgrade stuff. And hey, here's your combiner from Exkaiser.
Yeah.
If it wasn't planned already from day one, who knows?
Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about Exkaiser. And Hank, do you want to give us a little overview of Exkaiser, some of the central plot points in the show, and also the main characters that appeared?
So just for direct information, a lot of this coming is from this Yuusha book. It's great. It's got like details, even little things that you never noticed while watching the show, which is what I liked about it. So Exkaiser started in 1990 February, ended 1991. Basically, the premise is that Earth is being attacked by the Dino Guys and their leader, and Exkaiser himself comes to Earth, and then for some weird reason takes a form in a family car. So it's in the future, and there's a kid's family of his father's car actually. He takes over that form. So he actually in the show switches between what his toy would look like, which is his real form, and the parents' car form.
Right there.
That's actually kind of neat, yeah.
It's actually quite funny. He has a secret identity, right?
Yeah.
And it's mostly about Exkaiser and his relationship with the kid and how the guys, they attack Earth and they're trying to... It's actually quite vague, but I think they're trying to steal energy from
They're
the
trying to steal energy from Earth.
Yeah. Like
it was
kind of like Decepticons, yeah.
Well, exactly. The script was still Transformers at that point, essentially. So.
Yeah, but it was that little bit of vagueness that was weird. And then you get more of the other characters like the Ultra Rakers, which would be the predecessors to I guess symmetrical docking in Gaiga. And then you get Godmax, which is like 3 of them. This was very pre when the second combiner team would have like extra power ups. In fact, the only person who gets a power up in the entire series is Exkaiser. Even Dino Geist doesn't get a power up, and most villains usually get a power up near the end.
Now, Exkaiser powered up with Dragon Kaiser, did he not?
That's right. Dragon Kaiser itself could actually operate on its own without him in it, without Exkaiser being in it. But generally, he'd be King Exkaiser. And the first time he summons Dragon Kaiser was to distract the enemy. Doesn't really do much, but it fights and it doesn't have a glow in its eyes, just to show that Exkaiser is in it. And then subsequently, King Rhoda, which is the trailer, gets destroyed, and so he ends up using Dragon Kaiser for quite a few episodes because there's no other way to get a super large form. And then finally they do the full-on combination, which is his final form, and that I think becomes a mainstay in all the Yuusha series, where you've got the first robot that gets badly damaged, they bring in the secondary lead robot, and then subsequently they merge them. I think only Da-Garn and Gaiga really don't follow that plot point, but generally all the other Yuusha series follow.
Gaiga typically had just more tools and weapons that would be added to him. He initially started out with the dividing driver, and then later the golden hammer and the dimensional pliers. Mm-hmm.
And then the bolting driver later on after that.
Yeah. And then you get into the genetic Gaiga, and
he's technically not supposed to have anything,
Yeah.
Godian Crusher wasn't even built for him, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically, Gaiga was basically it was the proto Gurren Lagann, the way that I look at it. Because if you want crazy over the top anime action, and then before Gurren Lagann, you watch Gaiga. That's what it was for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, the next one was Sun Firebird. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay,
so you want to? Okay.
Yeah, Sun Firebird talks about a professor. So he's basically one of the main support characters. He builds a bunch of machines which are meant to be like rescue vehicles because he's learned about negative energy and positive energy. So there's good energy and bad energy. And then his greatest opponent is another professor who knows about evil energy and who has summoned. Hang on, I forget their name. Sorry, it's just there's so many names running in my head. He summons. Where are my villains? Dryas. So Dryas arrives on Earth. He's like three animals? I think 3 or 4 animals combining into one giant robot. He's got 2 henchmen, which are like sparks in robot bodies. So basically, Firebird like Proto Man was saying, it's like sparks entering different bodies. So when Fiber arrives, he takes over the body of a cyborg, an android, and basically tries to live life as a human. And that's where the kid factor comes in. The kid tries to teach him how to be a human on Earth.
They always try to find some reason to justify the human being there. Every series, it's like, oh, he could help fix him or make him be a part of society. There's always some reason for that character to be there, because that's the staple of also the Japanese writing style, is there has to be that human root for everything. It can't just be sentient robots. There has to be that connection. And in that case, it's the child there with naked Firebird at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that first episode was like, what the heck were they thinking when they wrote this?
Well, you know, that's another thing too that I've noticed in the few episodes that I've seen, is that the children actually curse in some of these episodes.
Well, it's a vague kind of curse. It's probably, they say Kuso, which is it could be, it's kind of shit. It's kind of
damn it.
As long as they're not going Seiko.
No, wrong series.
But it's one of the thing is that also has to do with the people who translate it. Sometimes they interpret it in different ways. It's more situational to how you would interpret those words.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Now, I have to admit, sorry.
No, it's fine. I'll continue.
I have to admit, Firebird was a very different style of robot when you think about it, because he didn't really like transform it. Like, he transformed into his basic form, and then he picked up armor rather than, you know, merging with another vehicle to become more powerful. Because technically, the android was his basic form, because the android did a lot of fighting on his own.
Yeah.
Now I've actually got Sun Firebird on the way. I had a great deal on the Android app, actually, for eBay here about a month ago. Had a deal going where if you bought and purchased something on eBay with the Android or iOS app, you got $5 off. And I found an auction where you could make an offer on Sun Firebird, and I made an offer of $50. Wow. Plus shipping, and I wound up getting Sun Firebird for $55 shipped from Korea. I'm still waiting on him, but it has said it's shipped, so you know, however long it takes.
Oh, this is the Sonokong version, is it?
Yeah, it is the Sonokong, but I am really excited to
And also, what's interesting about that toy, it kind of has, I don't want to say too much, but it kind of has a Power Master gimmick to it, but not quite. Like,
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know, again, I don't want, it's not complete. You know, it's not unlocking the transformation per se, like a God Master or Power Master gimmick, but it has there was those cues there. But also, the reason why Firebird was written the way it was because, just like Master Force, Headmasters had to follow the same kind of formula that Season 3 was, where it was that same style like Season 3 was. It was that same look, that same storytelling. But then when Takara got to be their own thing, Master Force was vastly different. And it was the same thing. Brave Exkaiser was still trying to be what the previous series were of Transformers, but the second they got to do their own thing and break away, that's what Firebird was. It was really just taking a left direction. And like you mentioned before, I think there even is a mention in the first episode of him coming from a space police or something to tie that to Exkaiser. But I think it was just the first episode. They made a mention of it.
Oh, the final episode talks about them going back because they've they've completed their mission and their job. They're going back.
Something like that, yeah.
But that's about it.
Now
you totally forget about it in the middle of the series.
Yeah.
I totally forgot before we moved on from Exkaiser. Let's kind of back up a little bit to Exkaiser and talk about the villains. We talked about Exkaiser and King Rotor and Dragon Kaiser. But let's talk about the four Geists, or actually the five Geists. Well, six, I guess. You had the four Geists were essentially the Dinobots: Sludge, Slag, Snarl, and Swoop. that were retools of the original G1 Transformers Dinobots. And then you had Redgeist, which was Death Source. Redgeist.
No, Redgeist is not to Da-Garn.
That's right. That's right.
Dino-Geist.
Dino-Geist, yes. Okay. I was thinking Redgeist
is you're thinking the
Death-Saurus repainting Da-Garn.
Yeah, I was thinking he was an Exkaiser. My bad. But Dino-Geist was in there, and you can see the Dino-Geist toy in the Facebook group. Phenomenal toy. There were, to my recollection, there were no toys of the four Geists.
No.
The villains were called, like, their official name was Uchu Kazuku Geister, which is like space pirates or whatever, Geisters. Yeah. And the other villains were essentially the other Dinobots minus Grimlock, which unofficially combined in the show. And there was a little minion unit that put the energy bombs or whatever. I forget what his name was. The little bat creature.
Oh, Gomori.
Yeah, I think they were called the energy box or something. I think they were called.
Something
he was using.
Like that.
And so, essentially, it was like Swoop was Petrageist. Snarl was Armorgeist.
Snarl was Horngeist.
There was Thundergeist, Armorgeist, Petrageist, and Horngeist. And I guess Horngeist is probably what's his name? Slag. Yeah. So, but yeah, and you rarely hear the names. You hear like maybe one episode, like one guy is focused on, and you hear his name. And they did combine, but the combination was not really possible with the original G1 Dinobot toys, so that's probably why the toys never got like repainted and released during the series. Not to mention those were really old molds and old designs that used die-cast, and already at that point in Generation 1 even, they were phasing out using die-cast at all, so to take those old, Diaclon 1982 molds that still had heavy die-cast in the chest and stuff and everything, to take those and to reissue them in a line that, first of all, already villain characters were on their way out, would have been kind of silly. And then the fact that they can't combine officially as toys, because if I remember correctly, the centerpiece was Swoop, which was the Petrageist, and right away it was like a big chess piece, and anyone who remembers the original G1 Swoop toy, it's very spindly, so would have been impossible.
It doesn't help that their heads would be sticking out in the combined form, and it'd be this really creepy forehead staring at the child.
Yeah.
But okay, now the villains in Sun Firebird. What about those?
More dinos, a little bit of everything. Animals.
Because Tridas is a combination of a hawk, a dragon, and a jaguar, tiger kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a
merges into a jet, and then merges into him. And basically, he has just two human-sized minions who just pilot the villain mechas throughout the series. There wasn't that many interesting villains, I guess, for Firebird. I think Firebird's main disadvantage was the villains just weren't that interesting.
Now, am I correct in that the toy for Dreas was not all that great?
It's tiny.
It has its own charm. Like a bad Brave toy is still a good toy. But it's kind of like saying, well, bad pizza is still good pizza.
Do you have it, Don?
Yeah.
Do you have Dryas?
Yeah, let me get him.
And then show it for scale, because next to Firebird, he is so small that he barely reaches, I think, the shoulder area. And in the show, he's massively overpowered.
Now, Firebird himself, is he rather large in toy form?
He's pretty big.
He's pretty standard for Brave leaders, I would like to say.
So you're basically what you're saying is I got a good deal at $55.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because their combined forms just make them massive in comparison to the villain.
That's where it gets big. Like the stat, like he's just about as big as say the original Exkaiser. Jay Decker's a lot larger when he's combined because he was a little bit bigger.
All right, I'm gonna try a size comparison here to see if that helps any. I'm not sure if it will or not at that angle.
Put your cat next to it.
No, Massey is sleeping. I do not want you to bother him. Well, see, there is Dreas, And here is BotCon OTFCC 2003 Sideswipe. Your RID Prowl.
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah, that's like the standard size, essentially.
now
I think even Dino Geist was about that height when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the only reason it was so big was because of the transformation.
You know, and the individual components on Dreas really, they're very blocky. They're as G1 as you can be G1. You know.
It kind of makes me think of now I did own Tri-Bomber from Mike Gain, and that toy was I was blown away by that because I mean yes it was very blocky, but each component was a triple changer.
Yeah.
You know, and then
right.
and then it combined. It's like you have 3 triple changers that combine together. I mean, you wouldn't have got that in Transformers. And now, one thing that we mentioned on the Facebook group as well in the week leading up to it, we're going to be harkening
Hang
back
on, in
to
the background, that's Mike Saunders for anybody paying attention. Behind Weird Wolf at the moment is Mike Saunders. 13.
And he's got Mike Saunders has got kind of like this goofy looking chibi looking robot, and then he turns into this awesome looking rockin' robot with a double V guitar, you know.
Imagine Soundwave rocking out, and you've kind of got Mike Saunders.
Yeah. And his characterization is actually a very youthful type. I mean, he's almost a child.
Very American style character.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Japanese American. Sorry.
Yeah, he's actually the American contribution to the 3G unit. It's sort of like in G Gundam, the Maxter Gundam, that was a surfboard boxing cowboy football player. It's like
hey man, Canada was a lumberjack.
Oh no! At least China also put in Gekiryujin in Galgaigo, so China did something, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Now, you know, and it's kind of funny too, though, how Western culture is starting to adapt more of Japanese culture, and I know it's like my oldest stepdaughter. She absolutely loves what is it? The Titans.
No, the Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, no, not Teen Titans.
Teen Titans was done in Japanese style, but yeah.
No, it's anime.
Oh, Attack on Titans.
Attack on Titans. Yeah.
Why are you letting your kids watch that? Like seriously?
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is though is that anime is a phenomenon here now, and it's a lot of kids are being raised now here in the Western world with Japanese influences in, and it's like before long you kind of wonder how you know is Japan even going to have that quintessential, well, this is strictly American, because so much, you know, look at those eyes.
Actually, there already has been anime series that have been produced in Japan with the sole intent for American audiences in some extent. A good example, if anyone remembers the series Ultimate Muscle, which was known as Kinnikuman in Japan, the series didn't do well in Japan, but when it was brought over to America, it did very well. And it did so well that America ordered for more episodes to be made, and Japan made episodes exclusively for the American audience and did tweaks to the episodes to match more the censorship that American audiences have to normally contend with.
And
Aren't you thinking of second Nisei though? I think it was the second generation that was targeted towards the American audience. The very first Kinnikuman was in...
all the characters that had kanji written on their foreheads were now absent, with the exception of the main character, Suguru, which is Ultimate Muscle, Kid Muscle, whatever you want to call him. So they got rid of all the kanji that was put on the foreheads of characters because, well, it's made for an American audience, so we're going to change it for that purpose. So
I think
there was another series where they had these little balls. I think the creatures were little balls, and they chucked it, and then they had these battles where they became giant creatures. I can't remember what it's called.
Bakugan.
Bakugan?
Bakugan, yeah.
Anything after the first season was made for America and nothing
Yeah,
else.
just for America because it didn't do well in Japan.
So basically, those anime shows were just like the Xbox One in Japan.
No, pretty much.
Oh snap!
But now, if you want to go a little further back, I'm trying doing this from memory again, senior moment. But
That's fine.
I believe
If you say Transformers Zach, I will hurt you, Don.
No, I will not say Transformers Z. I am going to say Mighty Orbots.
No. Mighty Orbots is kind of a mix of things. They took the designs from God Mars, which was a whole other different animal.
Believe me, he knows about God Mars.
I know all my shit, man. But essentially took the designs from God Mars and made a series. I don't want to say bootlegging those designs, but playing off of those designs, because obviously, like, certain characters didn't look straight up.
Oh yeah.
God Mars. The final robot, Mighty Orbot, did, but that series, anyways, took a bow out because of so many other legal issues in terms of names, designs, concepts. That's why the series, despite the fact that it was popular, didn't continue.
Yeah,
And anyway.
Yeah, for years I've told Hing I want to see the Solar Chigoku God Mars recolored as Mighty Orbots. Yeah.
And for years I told Don don't hold his breath.
Hold my breath, yes. Hey, but you said the same thing about Figure Art Sailor Moon. Ha ha!
Ah, yeah, sure.
You know what? Point. You know something? In this day and age, anything's possible now. Anything is possible.
Let's get back on topic. What I wanted to say about the Brave toys in general. And now this isn't every single Brave toy. Obviously, not every toy falls under this category, but a vast majority of the Brave toys are not small, and I think that's one thing that absolutely floored me too, is that whereas in Transformers you get so many different size classes. I mean, you got Micromasters, you got this size here, then you got Deluxes, you got Megas, you got Supremes, you got all kinds. Well, in Brave you had big, and then you had bigger, and then as you saw earlier in the show, oh my God.
King Jade is a good example of oh my God.
That's what she said, by the way.
Yeah. King Jader, I'll never forget whenever I picked it up last year. I came home, I brought it back from Sharticon, and I was just so enamored with that toy. I loved it. And then I went to put it in my Detolf back here. And at the time, I wasn't able to, like you can see my Generations Metroplex back here. If you're watching the YouTube video, I took out a couple shelves, and I've only got one glass shelf and a Detolf.
Well, I have that answer for you though. The main reason for that, I assume you own some kind of Victory toys, right? Do you own any Transformers Victory? No?
Victory, not at the moment.
Okay.
Doesn't somebody have a Victory Saber in their background or something like that?
Well, here's the thing. With the beginning of Transformers Victory, they brought in a new designer to Takara at the time called Masayuki. And when he was brought in, if you look at Master Force, it's all pretenders. It's all stuff that we had of that aesthetic, of that design. That was, it wasn't Koji Ono. I'm trying to remember the guy who did the designs for all that stuff. But he did that. They brought in Masayuki for Victory, and Victory created that aesthetic, that transformation in that style. The bigger toys, blockier toys, if you messed with Road Caesar, Victory Leo, Star Saber, Road, what's it called there? I'm looking at
Landcross.
With the exception of the Micromasters, all the unique molds that were made for that series, even Kaiser and again going into a Brave mold that would be used later, Thesaurus, this guy designed all of those. Masayuki would later on go to do all the Brave stuff, with the exception of Gal Geiger. That was someone else completely. That's Obari and someone else. It was two people. But Masayuki had all. That's why they feel so similar. Like if you handle Star Saber, you go, oh man, that's that is so, you know, Exkaiser.
Yeah, Starsaber was very Exkaiser-ish. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. You just mess with G1 Starsaber, and then you mess with, like, I'll call it, you know, OG Exkaiser, because there's so many releases of that toy, and you'll be like, oh, there's so much similarities from an aesthetic point of view. And the interesting thing is that there is actually a lot of, you know, today we're so used to ports being the same size, 3mm port and stuff. All the Exkaiser toys have the same port size as all the Victory toys, and even Duke Fire, supposedly pieces of him clip on and attach to what would have been Star Convoy's combined mode with Duke Fire. We'll get to that.
I can confirm that that's actually accurate. I did try that with my Duke Fire on a Star Convoy. It actually does quite fit.
Too, yeah. Like there's. But we'll get to that when we get to J. Decker and stuff.
Yeah.
Duke Fire was initially supposed to be New Rodimus, wasn't it?
Yep. That's why I bought a Duke Fire.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
Hey, Weird Wolf, you're talking about size. I just want to show off.
There's the big Mamma Jamma.
This is King Gator's.
I bow before the king. I bow before the king here. Yeah.
Groovy.
Now, whenever I got King Jader home and I transformed him back and forth a couple times, I went to put him in a case, and at the time I wasn't able to do the split case like I do now. He will not fit in a DTOF. I mean, in robot form he's too tall, and in vehicle form I had to fit him by himself on a shelf, catty-cornered. And he was touching both sides, or both corners. Just
for reference, Weird Wolf, this is OTFCC 2003 Shadow Striker from the set, the Speed Breaker mold from RID.
Basically, the sideburn mold.
Which is a deluxe.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, you could fit about 5 of those inside of King Jader. But or more. But and they get even bigger. I mean, you know, like we were talking on the Facebook group, Great Might Gain Perfect mode is just enormous. I mean, he may be gangly and disproportionate in many ways. I love that toy. I mean, just his size was. I mean, whenever I first combined him, it was right here on this table. Whenever I was staying with Greg. And I stood back, and I'm like, holy crap, that thing's the size of a small child. And I'm like, it's just mind-blowing how awesome these toys are. And if you're into G1, then these toys are right down your alley. Yeah. I mean, I cannot stress that enough.
I totally agree.
But whenever you're looking for one, this is something that also came up in the Facebook group. Be careful what you're looking for, because there's 2 different kinds of Brave toys. You have DX, which is the ones that we're predominantly talking about, and then you have the standard, or the STD. Now, they don't have sexually transmitted diseases.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, not unless somebody used them for, you know, like Kitty Rose purposes or anything. From if you're from TFW.
Don't give her any ideas, Don't give her
this
any
is a kid-friendly show, right?
Yes.
I know, right?
Yeah. They flogged with them or something. But
God.
but it's like,
send all that Weird Wolf to.
Oh dear.
Final Fusion this. But
anyway.
and those big long swords on that most of them come with.
Oh jeez.
They are not child friendly swords.
No.
Actually, for people who did watch it, sorry, for people who did see me holding up Great Might Gain Perfect Mode earlier, the Great Might Gain himself is from the Revival series, so his colors are more accurate to the TV show. But my Might Gunner is actually the original one, so he's a lighter green compared to the darker green that the Revival comes from.
The Great Might Gain Perfect mode that I had was the inverse of that. I had the Sonokong original colors of Might Gain and Might Kaiser, and then my Might Gunner was a Brave Revival.
but just to say why he has 2 swords, because Might Gain only ever comes with 1 sword. is because in
Yeah.
Japan, when they did the revival series, they actually released a second sword with different colors at a Toys R Us, like an exclusive. So I picked it up so you could do the double sword thing in the very final episode of the series.
Yeah, I loved Mike Gunner though. I mean, he had the electronics, and you could pull it and then target the scope open, and then you had that.
Boy, that sounds familiar. Where have I heard that before?
I love the fact you have to pull his trigger. Yes, pull his
Yeah.
trigger.
Yeah, pull it hard, and oh, we're devolving already.
Oh
So
my god.
We're de-evolving.
Yes, but the main differences is well, let's go back here. The main differences between Hank, do you want to explain the differences between the STD and the DX?
Okay, so the DX are fully transformable toys. They're a lot larger, for obvious reasons, to I guess incorporate the transformation and combination sequences. But the STDs, the standards, which in Japan was really popular because in Japan houses are tiny. So unless you had a pretty big house, you would prefer smaller sized toys for your kids, so they don't take up so much space. So the standard figures were kind of made to be simple, cheaper toys that didn't actually transform.
Kind of
Most
like
of the time,
these
there were fewest.
from Age of Extinction. I mean, yeah.
I haven't done anything.
It's like you have STD Grimlock, and then you have the Voyager size DX Grimlock. That's the closest I can come to what we have on our shelves right now.
Different price points. Something
Yeah.
that was very common in Gundam, having different scales, which lead to also different engineering cues that are available. One by 144 scale will have a certain, at least back then, it's different today, but back then would have a certain limit of how much the toy could have in terms of articulation and budget. But as the scale got larger, there'd be more articulation, internal skeleton, whatever that might be. So it's the same thing. Back then, the STD scale, non-transforming, usually the way they were molded, the STD scale, the back half of them wasn't painted, just the front half. The back half was usually one solid piece of plastic that would hold everything together.
I think that held up until Da-Garn, I think Da-Garn
Yeah,
actually
Da-Garn had a lot of that. Same thing with J. Decker
detail.
also.
Yeah.
J. Decker had a lot of that.
Because I'm quite sure somebody posted on the Facebook a picture of the standard Gao Geiger.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And
Yeah,
I would
they,
say I would say if you could afford it and you've got the space, I wouldn't buy the standards. I would totally go for the DXs. I know
Totally.
it's more expensive, but as a toy, and if you want to play with something that's really G1, it's a way better choice.
Way more satisfying. Now, that's not to say the STDs, they do convert, do they not? Or
Depends on
Not
which
all.
ones.
Depends.
Well, to me, because Da-Garn is my favorite series for the mecha, and I have the standard Fire Da-Garn and Power Da-Garn, and Hing and I have a slight discrepancy on what's the better series as far as Gao versus Da-Garn. But the Power and the Fire Da-Garn, the SCD series, does form Super Fire Da-Garn. But it's sort of like it's better than Kabaya gum kits, but it's kind of that same. If you had
The example you're giving is it's a little different because that's like they don't transform, but they combine though. Yeah, like I'm trying to think. There was. It's kind of like how it's like
transformed, isn't it? I'm quite sure Da-Garn, at least Fire Da-Garn, not strong, not yet powered.
It's kind of like
I'm very
how
sure Fire did.
Mega SCF, the PVC line, they did Star Saber and Victory Leo. They didn't transform,
But they
they
combined.
combined.
Yeah.
Kind of a similar idea there.
It's more like falling apart and recombining. Yeah. There's some little there's some little transformation here and there. Like you move this arm point, it's minimal transformation. It's more exploding and recombining. But it looks good. But again, like King said, if you can afford something as wonderfully awesome as this
King
guy
Jada.
right here, which is Super Fire Da-Garn. You see how far back I'm having to get to show most of him, versus something that's this tall and doesn't look as good. So
I just think that's awesome that it's a freaking ginormous like steam shovel that combines with a 747.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the box now, if you look at the box behind me, this is the gift set that they did for Superfire Dagwan. It's both individual toys in their regular boxes, but they made a slip cover that holds both boxes with a handle. So you can sort of see a better look of what the individual robots look like versus the, but gifts. The DXs when we say they're big guys, they're big guys. There's just no Rusty.
Yeah.
And if anyone's interested in getting a Superfire Dagwan, Mandarake has it for somewhere around 30,000 yen at the moment.
Which is what, about $300?
Yeah, about.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, it's about on par the 100 to penny scale.
Yeah. Now, Braves are one of those weird things. Now, whenever I first started getting into them just 2 or 3 years ago, you could still pick up some relatively cheaply. I know I completed Great Might Gain Perfect Mode for about roughly $200 because Might Gain ran me 60, Mike Kaiser ran me, I believe, 80. And then I got Mike Gunner for like 40 off of eBay. And, I mean, it was like really, really cheap. Now you can't hardly find Great Mike Gain for under 300. And Braves are really starting to do like Transformers. They're going up there in the price ranges, and they're not really easy to attain, and a large part is because they were only in Japan and Korea. I mean, they weren't released anywhere else at any other time. So their numbers are nowhere near what Transformers were.
Honestly, like I think one of the most sought after from the Brave series, like, because I being an active like looking for stuff, he's one of them. But Dagbase.
Oh no, not hard to get.
No,
well,
Dagbase
it's sought after though, because that for a lot of people is a replacement for a Grandis, because Grandis
he's significantly cheaper than Grandis. That I will agree.
Right,
but he's very gutted.
That's one big reason why he's very gutted. But most people that's never had a Grandis, they'll buy that Dagbase to replace it because they want the mechanism, they want the base to play with their Micromasters. That's what they want.
You get those little PVC figures too. So.
Yeah.
Right. And those PVC figures are awesome. I think it's like a throwback to the whole
decoys.
The decoys, yeah, the decoys when we were a kid.
Like
Transformers.
Like these
that's
guys.
Something you have to kind of touch base on, because like Sky Gary comes with 2 of those little those 2 little PVC guys, and they're pretty cool. Exactly what I did with mine. I don't put them.
I was starting to say, is it 2 or is it 3?
Handy.
I've got 2.
No, there's 2.
That's what I just held up. That's what I just held up.
There's 2, but also with Death Gary, it comes with 3 of the truck trailer components. Yeah.
Yeah, these right here.
Now, what you're holding up, those are actually the standard troopers in the Goran series for the villains. So they're basically like cannon fodder.
Yep. The drones.
Right, but I mean the great thing about, like, say just Death Gary himself is he comes with the trailer truck thing, which a lot of people want for the Micromaster sets because they're so difficult to get hold of. Now the bad thing about them is they're gutted; they don't have the spring-loaded launching mechanism, but they're still worth it because they're a great fill-in for some of the stuff that you need.
But it's weird because some of the stuff in Brave has stayed relatively cheap. Like Death Gary, I mean, you can get from Sonokong version you can get
Captured Prey has him for like $25 right now, sealed in the box.
Yeah, that was actually the interesting thing with that. A lot of those Sonokon stuff were actually recent big warehouse finds that happened a couple of years ago. A good example of that, like captured on film, when David from Toy Hell, when he was on the show Collector Intervention, for anyone who saw that, he actually visits one of those warehouses where they just had cases and cases of this stuff, and he bought a whole bunch of it. So there's plenty of it out there.
When I was in Korea recently, with my wife, we walked into this like toy warehouse or something like that. It's like heaps of Korean toys, like Japanese toys basically, and there were heaps of Deaf Gary. He was
Yeah,
all over
there's
the place.
Yeah,
There's tons of them.
those. Tons
Nobody
and tons
really wants it like in Korea. You'd see less of say the Super Sentai that was out at that point because they'd be there but they'd be expensive, and then you see Deaf Gary, which was incredibly cheap.
Yeah. Another one that seems to be rather cheap is Dreas right now too. He's going for about $50. I've seen
on what?
eBay actually. I looked about a month ago, and I was about the same time I was looking for Sun Firebird, and
there's a guy at BotCon, and he's been there probably I'd have to say about 7-8 years now, who's been consistently bringing Brave stuff, but like the Sonokong stuff, and his prices have always been pretty fair. I don't remember much clocking out above $100. So I mean, a lot of the Korean ones, that's the cheaper route to go, and it's very rare that there's QC issues. So if you really want to get some of those, you're not missing much if you don't get the Japanese one, unless a box is really important to you.
Yeah.
That's the big primary difference between the two. I find that the Korean box for Death Gary Gun's nicer than the American one. For the American one, the Japanese one, I have both.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break, a 2-minute break here for our sponsors, and then whenever we come back, we'll talk about Da-Garn and Might Gain, and then we'll wrap up for next week. Stay tuned for the second half here. Well, it's less than a half because we kind of went over the halfway point here, but I just do want to play this the 2-minute thing here for our sponsors and tftalk.net. So stay tuned for more TFYLP. TFYLP is sponsored by CapturedPrey.com. Great toys, great prices, great service. Visit www.capturedprey.com for all your import, Transformers, and third-party figure needs. And save even more through the Captured Prey loyalty program. CapturedPrey.com. Mega Toy Fan. Look for Mega Toy Fan at popular toy conventions like BotCon and TFCon, as well as on Facebook at facebook.com/mega.toyfan. Join up on our forums at tftalk.net. Discuss the podcast with the cast of the show, talk about Transformers and Super Robot Mecha, or just talk about whatever is on your mind. Visit tftalk.net or tfylp.com today. TFYLP is also on Twitter at TFYLP. The TFYLP Twitter is the one place where you can find out the latest information on the show, as well as directly contact us about the show. Follow at TFYLP today. Join the TFYLP Facebook group, where hundreds of fans talk about the show, or you can buy, sell, or trade your Transformers figures with fellow members. Visit facebook.com/groups/TFYLP and ask to join today. You can now find TFYLP on Stitcher Radio. Stitcher Radio is a free app available for the iOS, Android, and Nook platforms, with over 20,000 shows to discover. With Stitcher Radio, you can create your own custom playlist, and is always on demand and always on the go. Listen in to TFYLP on Stitcher Radio today, and please rate us. Tell other fans that you heard TFYLP on Stitcher Radio. TFYLP is available for download via the iTunes podcast directory, Double Twist on the Android platform, as well as from our website at tfylp.com. we're back. We're talking Brave tonight, Yuusha Brave. For those of you who have been listening in, Yuusha Brave. I guess Yuusha, is that a direct translate?
Yes.
Directly translated into Brave?
Yes.
So basically, when we're saying Yuusha Brave, we're saying Brave.
More or less.
But I guess it's more to clarify Yuusha Brave, because some things can be have Brave in their name. So we've talked about Brave Exkaiser, Sun Firebird, and now we're going to talk about Legend of Da-Garn and Brave Express Might Gain. With us this evening is special guest I'm sorry, Hing
is fine. Just stick with Hing. It's okay.
I just ran downstairs and ran upstairs. I'm out of breath. I'm sorry. But
well, just don't call him that guy with the glasses. He might get sued.
Hey, I wear glasses. I just have contacts on right now.
No, we don't need nostalgia critic here. No.
Hang up, Chan. Tell us a little bit. Now you've had some experience seeing these series firsthand and seeing the toys on shelves. Tell us a little bit about the Legend of Da-Garn and the story behind it and the main characters.
So Legend of Da-Garn is a pretty huge departure from both Exkaiser and Firebird, really. While both Exkaiser and Firebird are aliens coming to Earth to defend it, Da-Garn was the Earth itself, the spirit of the Earth, creating these defenders. And they have to have a commander who will use their power properly. So they picked a kid called Seiji to control, basically starting with Da-Garn. And then he goes around searching for these stones, which will allow him to awaken more Yuushas, in this case for the rest of the series. So he basically picks up, he gets Da-Garn first, and then he meets up with the Sabers, but they start off with 3 and get their 4th member a little later in the series.
Hawk Saber.
And then finally he also gets the Landers team. Somewhere in the midway point, Da-Garn gets taken away because he has to try to prevent the Earth from splitting in half. So he holds the planet together. And in the meantime, the Earth sends him a lion-based creature, a rope mecha, who is basically Da-Garn, but as a giant lion. And think Victory Leo. He doesn't speak much. He's he's pretty aggro, really. But he takes over as the main defender until they get back Da-Garn, and then they get the typical power-up merge together kind of thing. The villains, I don't know if there's really one. There's a main villain, and then everybody else either seems to be working for him or are their own thing. I think that's kind of something that leads into Might Gain. But there is actually a main villain, and he pilots Red Geist, which is the repaint of Deathsaurus we've been talking about for a while now. What I do find is the main failing of Da-Garn, personally, is that Da-Garn himself gets a lot of character development, but none of the other side guys really get that much development. They either don't appear for an entire episode, even though you're thinking backup would be good at this point, or if they do appear, they get beaten the crap right out of. Da-Garn has one very good character that appears later called Seven Changer. He's basically the first 7-form transformer. He's got one up on 6 shot. Let's put it this way.
Yes, he does. And actually, the Seven Changer toy, which has been knocked off, the Seven Changer toy is actually quite nice in each mode. I mean, he's got. I think there might be one mode that you're like, but the rest of them are like, unlike 6 shot. I mean, each one of the modes has some charm to it. Did everybody?
Yeah. Okay, so I haven't actually seen Seven Changer toy. I have not held it in hand before. I've seen it in box. I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
In the
I've-
TV show, he's like this super powerful robot. He's pretty much on the level of Da-Garn X's final form, you know, like his super mode. He's that powerful in the show. And it's only because he has his own commander. So like what Seiji is to the Earth base, Yuusha, he has his own commander that's like from another planet. So he's basically the alien Yuusha quota filled up. And I don't know, he barely uses his other forms in the TV series.
Now, is it safe to say then that Legend of Da-Garn is Yuusha's against each other? In a sense that it's like a giant robot death match, or is unlike the other ones where basically you just have aliens coming in to help humans, or
No,
humans are fighting?
Seven Changer comes in only because they're trying to stop the enemy who have destroyed his own planet. He's basically a Yuusha without a planet.
Okay.
And he doesn't get along with Da-Garn initially, but that's more of his commander's fault rather than Seven Changer's fault, because the two commanders don't get along with each other. And spoiler alert, like something happens to Seven Changer which changes everything. But I have to say that while Da-Garn is not my favorite Yuusha series, it does have a lot of, like, I really can't stand the lead character. The mechas are fine, but the lead character himself, I want to beat the crap out of in real life. It has some pretty heavy, like, scenes in it, which is actually quite different from what you would expect from a normal anime series. Targeted at children.
It's got more adult themes or adult situations in it than you would expect. Then.
Yeah. Something that leads on into later Yuusha series. Like they kind of skip that whole storytelling mechanic in Might Gain and J Decker, but it does come back a little bit by the time we hit Da-Garn.
Now, I've got this guy here. This is the Takara version of this guy. And let me take his shield off here, kind of give you a better look at him without some obstruction. And you got land bison. And for those of you on the downloadable version of this show, he is essentially very. He's a combiner. He's basically a tractor trailer car carrier. Has a F1 racer, a hot rod, and a double drill tank. Which, you know, double drill tanks seem to be something of a motif in the Brave series.
In Japan in general.
Yeah.
Something vodka.
Yeah. So I mean.
That and trains. I find that and trains turn
They
up
love
a
trains.
lot.
Yeah.
They love their trains.
Wow, there's even still a piece of styrofoam in here, but yeah.
I'm the same actually. I take him and I open his chest. Styrofoam's still there.
Yeah. But I mean, as you can see, if you can see on the YouTube channel, he's got very nice chrome detailing. And kind of looks like he might be a fan of The Rock or something other in pro wrestling.
I know, right?
Yeah, but he's really nice, and I don't know if it's coming through there, but can you see light piping?
Yeah, the light piping.
Yeah,
Such
very
a
nice.
good figure.
and
He's so expensive. Like the Japanese version. I'm not going to talk about Sonokong.
Actually, that one right there was about $70 mint in box.
When did you get him, though?
Insane Galvatron got him for me as a Christmas present. I was actually going to buy it from a guy on TFW. I believe it's Old's 1978, and he had two of them. He had a Sonokong and he had a Takara. And I contacted him about buying the Takara one, and he had about a $70 price tag on it. I want to say, and now bear in mind this was about 3 years ago. And
that's a really good price though, 70, because he's averaging about 150 to 200 at the moment.
Oh wow, is he? Okay.
Yep.
Because he's one of the
very
harder ones to
expensive.
find from the series.
Yeah. So he said okay. he'll hold it for me because I asked him to hold it for me till my next payday, which was a week away. And well, whenever payday came, I had the cash in hand. I contacted him. I said, "Okay, what's your PayPal address? I'll send it to you." Never got a reply. And kept waiting, and I messaged him 2 or 3 times, and he never did reply to me. And Insane Galvatron got his in. He had bought the Sonokong version because I told him about it, and he was wanting it. And he's like, I don't know, he had no problem contacting me. And I'm like, well, let's, I thought I kind of got screwed, And a couple months later, Insane Galvatron gave me a gift, and I opened it up, and it was I've actually gotten a Brave toy, a Japanese Brave toy as a gift, and that was an awesome Christmas present. Now this is another guy. We showed him earlier. You have the Jet Saber, the Jumbo Saber, and Shuttle Saber, and Hawk Saber. If I'm correct in those names.
You are correct.
They combine together, and he too has got some really nice light piping. Now the Sonokong, this is another thing. The Sonokong version, I don't know if this is prevalent in the Japanese. If you can see the spear tended to warp. It came out of the package like this. I mean, it's actually worse than this. I mean, now time has actually straightened it out some, but the saber actually came out of the package warped from the Sonokong version. And that's kind of unfortunate, but it's still a really, really nice toy, and it holds together somewhat well. I'm shaking it pretty good here, and I know that's what she said, but I mean, he holds together pretty well, but and yeah, as you can see, he's got somewhat of a phallic jet nose cone that hangs down there too.
He's letting it all out.
Letting it all hang out, but. I really, really enjoy this toy, and whenever I was selling my Braves, he was one that I'm like, King Jader, the only reason I let him go and a couple of the others is because, and Dino Geist, is because I needed to pay for my wedding, and those guys was fetching really good prices. And Pegasus Saber, I'm like, you can still, at the time, you can still get him. You could get Hawk Saber from Korea for like $25 shipped. You could get the Sky Saber gift set from Korea for about $100. So I'm like, for what I would get for him, already opened up, it wouldn't have been that much. So I decided to keep him, and he's really awesome. I also have another Brave toy here, but we'll talk a little bit more about him next week. And this is a KO, but
I will pull out my entire Goron collection for next week. It'll be sitting behind me.
Now I'm going to be crying whenever you hold up Great Goldron.
Do you not see him in the corner?
Yeah, I see him, but I mean, see him.
Yeah, just look for the
only
glitter.
reason why the only reason why I want it is because it's a gold Godzilla. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, he's essentially he is nothing but gold chrome. I mean, if you don't like chrome, you're not.
Actually, that's the revival version. The revival version is almost all totally gold chrome. The original version only has chunks of it gold. The rest is all gold plastic.
Oh.
The revival did gold.
Now, is he prone to GPS?
Well, not my one. No, not to my knowledge. Mine's fine, but I don't know about the revival one.
Okay. Whenever you said gold plastic, it just kind of red flag, It's like, what?
Oh God,
no.
But I've had Goron 5 years now, and he's fine. Nothing's happened. I leave him displayed outside, so.
Yeah. But yeah, he's. Now I constantly see Sorakage. Is that his name?
Sorakage.
The
bird.
I constantly see him, but I rarely see Goldron or Leon Kaiser by themselves. And whenever you do, Leon Kaiser I've seen go upwards of $200 by himself. And that really is it's really disappointing, because to me, by the time you buy all the components, you're going to spend $500 on one guy, and I don't want to do that, for a series that I'm not really that familiar with.
Well, I guess I lucked out there, because Goron was always my holy grail for the Yuusha series. Now it's King Jaden, not Goron. But when I got him as the full box set, so the original box set for about 200. So I think that was pretty lucky for me.
And that incidentally, that King Jader auction, I got outbid. I put a bid in on it. The Japanese.
Oh, did you?
One. Yeah, it's well, I mean, it was $50, and I'm like, I'll try my luck at it, and somebody sniped me, so I'm like.
Well, snipe bid is actually an option on that. How does that work?
I don't get it. I mean, it's something that I wasn't familiar with, and this first time I tried, I'm like, hey, it's like I'll put one bid on it and see if it works. And, it didn't. But
Well, what
anybody
are you doing?
Do what?
He's playing with his Fire Dagwan.
Nope.
Oh.
Thunder Dagwan, the Victory Shuttle remold.
Yep.
I heard a crash and thought Massey had knocked over something, but it was something unrelated. So when y'all were talking about the Victory, the molds that have been reused and the prices going up, this is one of the main molds that keeps going up, because not only is it one of the harder to find Dagwan pieces, it's basically Victory Shuttle from Victory. And that was impossible to find now, and so you've got a double whammy right there. Plus, he's a very heavy remold. Plus, you get his, he's in his backpack mode. This robot is the 6th, well, actually the 7th Brave Dagwan member, and he actually connects to the back of a Thunder Shuttle. So I just brought that earlier I hadn't transformed him in a while, so I figured I'd better.
Well, I guess in order to kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea of how much money that particular toy as he was talking about, this one here is going for $800, and it's missing the instructions and the gun alone. So it just gives you a little bit of a scope on how much
eBay's a little crooked now. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. eBay's gone crazy lately. I mean, it's not what it used to be. These guys keep putting stuff on there. It's the silver.
I don't think I've ever bought a single Japanese G1 Transformer from eBay. Yeah. And they're all there, but I've never bought one from eBay. I've always bought them at BotCons or somewhere else that it's just a lot more reasonable. And not to mention, BotCon table costs and flights and everything are a lot more of a fee than an eBay fee. But yet eBay is still crazy with their prices.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I got lucky and picked up Thunder Shuttle. I mean, I picked up Victory Shuttle back in the day for $50 in the box, and I think I paid $75 for Thunder Dagwan back several years ago.
Yeah,
you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah. Again, being old does have its advantages.
Oh, I was there too. I was there back then also. It's just I had more limited money, so I was like, gotta get Star Saber first, gotta get Victory Saber first. Like, I didn't even think about those guys. I kind of regret it, because now it's like, forget about getting a Road Caesar cheap complete. I have 2 pieces of them. I don't have the 3rd one.
You're not missing much.
It's just to have it all.
Now, this link that you that was posted in the chat here, that's the Brave version, correct?
Yeah.
There's about $200, I guess. 20,000 yen.
Which that's pricey to a degree, but if you want, I mean, if you
want it, and you're not looking at, like, eBay is ridiculous as well. The one time I saw Thunder Shuttle and I showed this to Dawn, I think it was like 300, almost 300, and we were just staring at it going, how would that sell?
Because but this is Thunder Shuttle is a significant remold. It's not just a couple of small pieces. It's a significant remold, and I actually think it's a more entertaining toy than Victory Shuttle. But again,
oh wow! Now the DAG base there, $120. Well, 12,000 yen. That's not bad.
Well, DAG base doesn't go for a lot of money. I've seen literally at BotCon many times mint in box DAG base, maximum $175.
And
Mint
well,
in
I,
box.
I bought my tag base at $50. I was really lucky. I
Yeah,
lucked out.
he's
The
not
raffle.
expensive, and we're talking Japanese. I don't even think there was a Sonokong release of him.
but
Japanese
back
only.
No, I don't believe it was.
You know,
about
so-
about 6 years ago, my friend and I we were at BotCon, and we both were looking for. He was looking for Grandis. That was his #1 pick. I was looking for Dag Base. We both found them. I got my Dag Base mint in box for $60.
There you go.
He got a loose, complete Grandis for $275.
I hate him.
Again, this was
Yeah.
This was many years ago. You know, it was after 2000, so you know it's been several years. But I just told him, I said, you got that, and you could have, you know, Dagbase was the better toy. But you know, again, it's like you were saying, some people need that toy to complete that series. Other people don't mind Dagbases filling in. You know,
Cheap alternative. The proverbial Brave Max during a time where Fort Max was impossible.
Yes.
Yep.
I remember getting Brave Max when I was in Japan, and then I carried the box onto a Shinkansen, and people
And
were
that's
staring
also
at me
another one where
walking
where
around
the
with a bazooka.
Korean version is some people's alternatives.
Is there a Korean version of Brave Max?
Oh yeah,
Yes, yeah,
stickers upside
Yeah,
down and everything.
Well, the thing is, the one I have here, that is the Korean version. The only
Oh.
difference between that and the original is the upside down sticker, and the Korean version does not come with the playmat / instructions.
Yeah, or the
That's
card.
the only thing.
Or
Or
the
the card. That's it.
Yeah.
Honestly, the plastic quality, I've handled a original, and
It's
when I got
it's
hold of
the
this
same.
one, it's same.
It's the
There's
same
no
because
difference.
mine's the
So-
Japanese one. All my buddies from TFCon, they all have the Korean ones. It's the same thing. There's no differences.
No,
I
I
will
still
agree.
remember.
And that's the way I see it. It's like the Korean one is a cheaper alternative, but not by much because those two are still driving the market pretty high.
Hmm.
They're not cheap. I was
I was
lucky.
lucky. I was lucky. I got mine in Japan when it just come out because I was there when Car Robots was,
Yep.
was on
That's when I got
television.
it too.
It was like
A lot of
I picked them up from shop for like 120, I think. The trans. It was harder for me to get it back to Singapore because I was lugging that bloody thing all over
Yeah.
the place. Put it this way. I got it early in my trip rather than at the end of it, which was a mistake.
Wow.
well, when I got hold of mine, I was in the market because I was in the process of moving and everything, and I was like, I had to get rid of some toys, and I had a lot of boxed Star Wars Lego. And my local comic shop, I was going to go in there and maybe do a few little exchanges for something else. I had no idea that they had this thing, and I walked by it sitting up on the shelf, and I was like, that box of stuff for that guy. So I did a straight up trade, and I do not regret it one bit because it's a great toy. It really is. If you can't afford a Ford Max, which you should be able to afford a Ford
Now
Max
you can.
because they're fairly
Yeah.
cheap.
At
But if
person,
you want
you
to
can pick
get
one up for $350, easy.
right, but if you want to get hold of a Brave Max, go for the Korean version. They're great quality.
Brave
You're not going to
Max.
have any issues.
Brave Max.
The Brave is
Grand
Brave.
Max will set you back a nice penny.
Yeah,
Nice
Grand
penny.
will pretty much destroy your freaking bank account. he's
Well-
a pretty expensive one.
Well, I want to go ahead and wrap this episode up. Anybody have anything that they want to mention before we close up about the first few series of Brave? Anything that we might have missed? Tobias, do you have any questions or any comments about Brave?
No, I was just listening, and I feel so embarrassed.
Oh no!
Don't feel embarrassed. I mean, what are your thoughts on Brave? I mean, did you know much about it at all?
I didn't know much about it at all before listening to you guys, but now I know.
I know it's half the battle.
Half the battle.
Here go.
I think it's very interesting.
Chop sandwiches.
I would like
Well,
to
we-
get hold of some of those toys.
You would not be disappointed, and I guarantee you, you would be like me if you love your G1, you would be like me. I mean, you get your first Brave toy and you're like, oh my God, I got to get more of these.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just simply the way I was. I mean, I've got to get more of these.
Yeah, what's good about them is that they're the kind of toys where they're fun designs, and the only thing going against them is just the articulation of its time. But that's the only thing going against it is that. But everything else about them are very enjoyable. And of course, if you're a purist for here's how it looks on the show, here's how it looks as a toy, where certain characters, unfortunately,
Galgaigar actually comes pretty close.
Volfog.
Well, no,
Oh,
I mean,
no,
Galgaigar.
Bullfog is so bad. Like, Big Bullfog is fantastic. It's
Yeah,
one of the
Big Bullfog's good, yeah.
well proportioned. But him on his own.
I'm talking
Oh,
about
gosh.
Galgaigar himself, the mecha himself. But,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's if articulation isn't absolutely the end all be all for you. I mean, if you can pick up a brick toy, I mean, honestly, I mean, this guy is a flipping brick.
They're all
I
bricks.
mean,
That's one thing you have to understand with Brave. I don't think there's a single one that isn't brick-like.
Yeah.
I can't even think of one. Maybe Mike Sounder actually probably comes to mind, but that's really.
Well, hell,
Actually,
Dag Base is a
himself.
freaking box. I mean,
Yeah.
Goron himself is actually quite articulate for what he is.
Yeah,
He actually has a full range of movements compared
True, he
to
has the
most of the other.
You're right. He has
well, Galgaigar was similarly too. He kind of had like some minor knee joints. He had hip articulation.
those are like
elbows.
Those are like more due to transformation. You know?
Yeah.
Whereas Goron actually has like knee articulation and everything, and it's not even part of the
It's not
transformation.
part of the transformation,
It's
yeah.
just the way the design came out at the end of it. It works really well. That's why Goron is like my favorite toy really from the series.
But yeah, I wanna next week talk. We'll talk about J Decker, Golron, Dagwan, and Galgaigar. I also want to talk a little bit about the toys more in general because Takara wasn't the only people that had the rights to make official Brave toys, and that's kind of unusual. You don't usually see one or more than one company being able to. And I'm not talking about Takara and Sonokong. I'm talking Bandai. If you have looked at the Facebook group in the last couple of days, you'll see a link to a upcoming Bandai release of Galgaigar, and the thing is a flipping masterpiece. It's a
and is in their flagship line for high-end collectibles, Solo Chigoken.
Yeah.
Where you get your Transor Z's, your
Hoi, what was that? Transor Z.
Mazinga Zeto.
Now you have you also have CM's Corp that has had some really fine releases. I had a CM's Corp Galgaigar up until last year, and it was really nice. I mean, it had some issues, but I liked it.
They just recently finished the big order room sets, which were really cool too. I was actually picking those up. That was a really cool. That's a good way to get show accurate robot modes, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, if you're interested in Brave, there's not a lot of. You can find most everything online. That's a standard for, of course, for anything robot, tokusatsu, anime, whatever. But if you want to watch it, like say on DVD, Media Blasters several years ago, a company called Media Blasters. I think they're still around. I'm not sure.
They are. They're still around.
They acquired the rights to do Galgaigar, both subtitled and the first of two box sets is dubbed.
Yeah,
right here.
And
Right
with an English dub. And I will say this: Dan Green as Yu-Gi-Oh! As the commander of the Galgaigar team.
Yes.
It is epic in its own way. But
it's actually not that bad.
It's not. The dub. I think the dub. It's not as strong as say Tamers or Frontier, but I think it's a good dub. Well, see, I hold all dubs up against Tamers. I'm sorry, that's just That's just me.
I've never seen any like Digimon in English. I must admit.
But
So I can't say if you're right or wrong.
Now, it also is it should go without saying. A lot of the Brave series is also very formulaic, especially Galgaigar that I've seen. The first number of episodes, they all pretty much have the same
Concept.
same concept. You got kids having fun, then
Zonda!
yeah, Zonda, something happens, and then okay, the Team Galgaigar comes in to rescue the day, they fix it, and everything's all happy again till the next episode. Pretty much the same for every show.
That will change. You hit the midpoint, that will change.
Yeah, 50% of the series is like that, and then, like I said, the formula with the past Transformer series is new antagonist, new antagonist shows up, more development of the characters, less so of the episodic format, and then when you reach that final 10 episodes,
the OVA.
Well, no, not even the OVA. Just the last 10 episodes of the TV series, things really start getting a lot more serious, a lot more focused. OST, man, the soundtrack really kicks in the high gear those last couple of episodes too.
Oh my God. That last episode is so good.
Yeah.
Ironically, Galgaigar, you can actually download a live performance of the theme song to Galgaigar off of iTunes. And I actually quite like it. I listen to it quite frequently. Also, I want to point out a Facebook group that is not affiliated with TFYLP, but I frequent it quite often. And if you're into Braves and you want to talk to people who are quite knowledgeable about Braves, check out the Facebook group it's called Brave Da-Garn. It's kind of an amalgamation of the name Brave and Eldaron, Brave Da-Garn. And the Facebook group name is not a specific name. It's a bunch of numbers. You'll just have to search for them. But there's enough of us on the TFYLP group as well that can inform you on Brave. I know we've helped out a couple members already that's asked a few questions, and that's always really helpful. Seeing as how we're going to be talking more Brave next week, if anybody has any questions or anything that they want to know about Brave, post them in the Facebook group or tweet us at TFYLP or email us at podcast@tfylp.com, and we'll be happy to answer them on the show next week if we can. Anything anybody else wants to mention before we wrap?
I do want to mention that we did have a bumper that was designed for this specific episode, but sadly Google Drive was taking ages to upload it, so we could get it to Da-Garn so you can stream it. We'll try to have that up for the next episode for you guys.
Yeah. We'll also post it in the Facebook group and everything.
And when we do that, we'll have it on the Facebook group. We're going to throw it up on tftalk.net as well. If you guys have any suggestions, any questions or anything like that, let us know. If you guys are actually in the market for some of this stuff, hit us up. We might be able to get hold of some information for you guys to help you purchase the stuff that you guys are after.
And one thing I'm going to add, I got lucky and only made one serious mistake in my early periods looking for Brave toys. I overspent on a KO that was so close to what I thought I was looking for, and
$15.
What KO are you talking about, Don? Sorry.
What I thought was the original Thunder Shuttle, and it was not.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of groups. There's us. If you start looking for these toys, please be careful. Watch out for the packaging. There is some packaging nowadays that is very close to the original.
English.
Yeah, just be
careful. Brave toys have been knocked off. Dare I say, even more than Transformers have.
Sky Gary.
Yeah.
I have an army of different Sky Garys that Gary guns.
At one point, I could find nothing but KOs of Goran and Leon Kaiser, and that was my initial version of them that I got. I got the KO version. and then obviously you earn money, you get a real one.
You want to talk knockoffs? Right here. Where are they? There's the crew of F1 Mox from
Oh my!
Landperson. The color of the rainbow.
Oh no! I never knew they had that many KOs.
I have even more. I have purple, red, green, light blue, dark blue, yellow. Well, yellow's the official release, and I have a rainbow one that's mint on card that's over there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's they bootleg them like nuts. Because again, I don't know what it is, but that series must have been very easy to bootleg in the factories back then. I don't know.
Yeah, but needless to say, though, the real deal is something you want to go after and really want to help people. And in my further mission that I want to do on tftalk.net. Now, tftalk.net, if you remember our original tagline, and just look at our logo. We're not just Transformers. I mean, we're primarily Transformers because that's what a lot of us here love. But the crest on the TFYLP logo, that is a nod to Brave, because Brave is such an important part of the Transformers fan base. I mean, a lot of people dismiss it and think, oh, they're not Transformers, they're that Power Rangers crap.
Or they don't even know it.
It's something that they just haven't opened their eyes and hearts to. And I guarantee you, if you got your hands on a Brave toy, you would not be displeased if you're a G1 fan, or even a G2 fan for that matter. But what I'm trying to do at tftalk.net, I want to have more of a Brave presence on tftalk.net, and I'm wanting to try to help build a good photo database of the toys, more in-depth information about the series and everything. And make a community for Brave on tftalk.net. So if anybody that's listening is wanting to help me with that endeavor, please let me know. I know I want to start growing the website some more, and I'm going to need some help doing that. So I'm putting that out there. So if you have interest in helping with tftalk.net and providing information and entering some information in there, please get in touch with me. A good way to do that is podcast@tfylp.com or on Twitter @tfylp. I'd love to. There's somebody just messaged me, Zach Mitchell, about a Brave figure that he found on eBay. We'll get with you on that one right after we wrap. Hang, I want to thank you for joining us this week, and I hope to see you here next week.
Thanks for having me.
It was really great having you on the show. Plasticon, thanks for you. Tobias, hope you learned something.
Absolutely.
Have we turned you on to Brave?
Yeah.
Okay, we've accomplished something here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the boss needs something else to import.
but
More plastic.
This is something that he's not going to regret, though. No, well, not to say that he regret anything else, but yeah. Don, thank you for joining us, and Proto-Man, as always, thank you. Guys, we'll see you next time on TFYLP, and join us next week for more Brave goodness.
This has been Transformers for your listening pleasure, a presentation of tftalk.net. We'd like to thank you for listening and ask that you please rate us on your favorite podcast outlet and share us with your friends. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @TFYLP. Email us at podcast@tfylp.com. This is Paul Leggett, and on behalf of TFYLP, we'd like to thank you again for listening. And we hope you'll join us next time for another TFYLP.